Okay.
Okay. All
So,
right. It's Friday, May the 3rd, 2024. And I'm going to read the seventh version of Nocodemian prayer in German, followed by Nocodemian's mental block meditation, also in German. And then Helen will say it in Tagalog right after. Okay. Siebentes Geisterlehre, Gebet von Nocodemion. Über die Kraft meines Bewusstseins führe ich mit meinem Verstand und mit meiner Vernunft allein die Allmacht über mein Wissen, die Wahrheit, mein Kennen, meine Liebe und Wahrhaftigkeit aus. Allein meine Macht breitet sich in mir aus, jedoch keine andere, so ich mir stets meiner eigenen Gedanken und Gefühle bewusst bin und mein Wissen, meine Weisheit und mein Können entfalte und nutze und damit alles zur wahren Liebe, Freiheit, Harmonie und zum Frieden in mir führe. Die Kraft meines Bewusstseins ist mir eine Bestimmtheit, so ich sie zum eigenen Wohl für meine Gedanken und Gefühle und die Suche sowie für meinen Körper nütze. Täglich entfalte und nutze ich meine Bewusstseinskraft, so sie ständig in mir wirkt und mich meinem Unwissen begegnen lässt, wodurch ich mein Wissen und meine Weisheit mit Liebe, mit Gefühl sowie mit Verständnis und Vernunft nähre. Durch die Kraft meines Bewusstseins erkenne ich selbst meine Fehler und behebe sie und vermeide, neu zu beginnen, so mich keiner mehr in meiner Entwicklung und in Vollkommen hindern kann. Die Kraft meines Bewusstseins lässt mich falsche Lehren, falsche Denkweisen und alle Gefahren von Glaubensabhängigkeit sowie von schädlichen materiellen und weltlichen Dingen erkennen und sie vermeiden. Durch meine Bewusstseinskraft bin ich selbst meines Verstandes und meiner Vernunft mächtig, und durch die Allmacht meines Bewusstseins bin ich mir allseitig meiner Kraft, meines Kennens, meines Friedens und Wissens sowie meiner Weisheit, Liebe und Harmonie bewusst und kontrolliere alles. Ich lebe in Liebe. Ich lebe in Frieden. Ich lebe in Freiheit. Ich lebe in Harmonie. Ich lebe unbeschwert. Ich lebe in Gesundheit. Ich lebe in Freude.
yeah. So, isunod natin ang pagsambit sa ikapitong makadiwang pagtuturo sa panalangin ni Nocodemion, isang pakikaugnayan sa sarili, nilikha ng huling Henok. Sa pamagitan ng kalakasan ng aking kamalayan, sa aking katalinuhan at sa aking pangangatwiran, ginagamit ko ng buong lakas sa aking kaalaman, kapantasan, sa aking kakayahan, sa aking pag-ibig at katotohanan. Tanging ang kalakasan ko lamang ang lumaganap sa akin, gayunpaman walang ibang lakas, palagi ang sanang maging mulat ako sa aking sariling mga kaisipan at damdamin at inilalahad ko't ginagamit ang aking kaalaman, aking karunungan at ang aking kakayahan at dito ko aakayin ang lahat sa totoong pag-ibig, kalayaan, pagkakaisa at kapayapaan mula sa aking sarili. Ang kapayapaan ng aking kamalayan ay hindi lingid sa akin, kaya ginagamit ko ito sa aking sariling kagalingan para sa aking mga kaisipan at damdamin, ang aking kalooban, gayon din sa aking pangangatawan. Sa araw-araw ay ilahad sa akin ang paggamit ng lakas ng kamalayan upang ito ay patuloy na gumana sa akin at hayaan akong harapin ang mga bagay na hindi ko pa natututunan kung saan pinangangalagaan ko ang aking karunungan at ang aking kapantasan sa pagmamahal, pagsalat para sa iba, pati na rin sa pag-unawa at katwiran. Sa pamamagitan ng kalakasan ng aking kamalayan, kinikilala ko ang aking mga pagkakamali at nalulutas ito at iwasan pang gumawang muli, kaya't walang ano pa mang mga pagkakamali ang makahahadlang sa aking pag-unlad at pagsulong. Ang kapangyarihan ng aking kamalayan ay kayang kilalanin at iwasan ang mga maling aral, maling paraan ng pag-iisip at mga panganib mula sa pagkakandili sa isang paniniwala, pati na rin ang mapanganib na materyal at mga makamundong bagay. Sa pamamagitan ng kalakasan ng aking kamalayan, ako mismo ay may hawak ng aking sariling katalinuhan at pangangatwiran at sa pamamagitan ng buong lakas ng aking kamalayan sa lahat ng oras ay palagi ang mulat sa aking kapangyarihan, sa aking kakayahan, sa aking kapayapaan at sa karunungan, pati na rin ang aking kapantasan, pag-iibig at pagkakasundo na aking pinanghahawakan. Namumuhay ako sa pag-ibig, namumuhay ako sa kapayapaan, namumuhay ako sa kalayaan, namumuhay ako sa pagkakasundo, namumuhay ako sa kagaanan, namumuhay ako sa kalusugan, namumuhay ako sa kagalakan. Ako nawa. Magandang umaga sa Canada at Amerika, tanghali sa Dubai, at gabi sa Pilipinas, sa Taiwan, saan pa ba? Kay Renz, kung nandiyan siya sa New Zealand. So sa araw na ito, ang alam ko ay si David Catstill ang magtatalakay ng Night of Thoughts. Ito ay parang nandun siya sa introduction eh. Natalakay na ito ng mga nakaraang araw. Matagal-tagal na rin. At maganda ring ulitin ang pag-aaral dahil mauulit pa natin at mabibigyan ng mas malalim na paliwanag ang ating ginawang pag-aaral nung nakaraang mga araw. Ito ay Might of Thoughts from page 2. 2 ng Might of Thoughts up to 8 yata. Yan, 8. Up to 8. So, basahin muna natin at by paragraph at mag-share ang bawat isa. Mag-break lang kung meron silang gustong isingit o para hindi mawala sa kanilang kaisipan yung paliwanag na pagkatapos nating mabasa. Sisimulan ko na. Page 2, Might of Thoughts by Billy Edward Meyer. All the following words. Hindi ko alam kung doon Yeah, break. Yeah.
Diyan na po si David.
Ay, oo, ando na. Yeah. Hi, David. We thought you were not coming. So good evening to you. And yeah, we started our affirmation already and hope you proceed to your topic today, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, go ahead, David.
You're on mute.
Can you unmute, David? David, you're muted.
We can't hear you.
You're mute.
You hear me
There
now?
you go.
Oh, David,
Yeah.
your sound.
Thank
We cannot hear
goodness
you.
you made it. Now we hear you. Thank goodness you
No.
made it.
Yeah,
Maybe you can
I
put-
I was just about ready to cut loose. I thought the meeting had been canceled or something, and I didn't hear you.
I know we had some
Maybe-
trouble.
Maybe the volume, David, you can adjust the volume
Yeah,
from my side.
yeah, I'm
Is it
about
a
to
bit,
say
uh,
that
too
too
high?
also.
Is it too low or too high?
More
It's a bit
volume.
low.
Yeah,
Oh,
maximize.
hold on, let me see if I can get a hold of it here. Oh, what-
Yeah, you weren't alone. We all had trouble getting in. So I'm glad you found your way back to us.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's excellent.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
better.
It's
It's
okay.
you.
better.
All
excellent.
right, all right. Now let me see if I can get back to you guys. Oh. There we go. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Host has disabled screen sharing.
Screen share.
Yeah, it says host
Ring.
disabled.
Let me see. I have to make you a host.
I
Second.
got it now. I put you,
Thank
no,
you.
multiple sharing now.
Okay, there we go. So let's get this show on the road.
Okay.
All right. Why is that? Oh. Presentation from Might of the Thoughts, parts 1 and 2, May 3rd, 2024. Part 1. All of the following words are the result of the thoughts from a long, turbulent, and full life, but they are also the result of a well-maintained meditation, as well as the result of perception, cognition, cognizance, knowledge, practical experience, and living experience and wisdom. However, the words do not claim to represent omniscience in regard to all things, nor consequently are they to be regarded as an exhaustive treatment of the much described life and of the comprehensive topic of the might of the thoughts. The words are much more to be understood as the values of the practical experience and lived experience of a human being who made the effort all his life to examine his thoughts and steer them along neutral positive lines, in the knowledge that all of the human being's might is anchored in their thoughts. In this form, many things are also more touched on by the words than explained. But the fundamental zeal or goal of the words is that all human beings are encouraged through them to find the truth and be cognizant of it, so that they begin to live according to the old saying, which says, the human being is the forger of their own fortune. And when I refer to all human beings, then all are thereby actually meant, thus children and adults as well as young and old, and indeed as it applies to the male gender as well as the female. The human being is the forger of their own fortune, and indeed, in the form that the human being forms their luck by means of their thoughts, in each case according to how they choose them and reinforce them. But thoughts are created in the consciousness. Consequently, this is the origin of all might, a might which forms one's character as well as one's morality, as well as the external circumstances of life and the way through life. The consciousness itself also constitutes the actual personality. And it is exactly this which is responsible for the form and use, that is to say, the utilization of the thoughts. Consequently, the manner in which the thoughts are to be mightfully used is determined by the consciousness itself, that is to say, by the personality. I want to remind you before I continue, if anybody wants me to stop and ask a question, or you want me to go back over something or anything, don't hesitate to interrupt me. I won't take it as a rude gesture.
Yeah. Yes, David. Maybe after the second paragraph of reading, maybe we can discuss this first before we move on to the third paragraph.
Okay, So I'll finish
I was
this.
wondering, maybe somebody could say it also in Tagalog so that, what he just said in English, kind of like a short version, so those that are more comfortable in speaking in Tagalog can also contribute to the discussion.
Well, I'm sorry that I don't speak Tagalog, but
No, I mean to say somebody can kind of like how do you call this? Say it in
right,
short
maybe
form.
summarize it.
Yeah,
Yes,
summarize. That's what I'm saying. Like
okay.
paragraph by paragraph. Then that way, those that are feel more comfortable speaking in the Tagalog language will be able to
Mm.
make comments too.
Okay.
And then
Well, I'll
maybe
finish this
Cynthia,
paragraph.
you can we can translate it to David as well.
W-
The questions.
Let's
Yeah,
finish
the
this
questions.
paragraph.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
If
Okay.
if a human being is not yet aware of this irrefutable fact because they have lived so far in a well-tended unknowledgeness, as well as in ignorance of these matters, and in the pain and suffering, affliction, and disadvantage which often results from that, then that human being can now perceive this truth, create cognition and cognizance for themselves, as well as knowledge, practical experience, living experience, and wisdom, in order to thereby bring some light, love, peace, harmony, and joy into the life in an honest and lasting form. Okay. That was the first two paragraphs. So if somebody wants to go back over it, or you want me to continue?
Yeah, can
I
I
think
ask
Tita
a
Helen raised.
question?
Yeah, go ahead, Tita Helen. Yeah.
Yeah. Before moving on, maybe we can explain what it means by practical experience from living experience.
Well, I would think that practical experience and living experience are
Yeah.
kind of the same thing. I mean, when you think about you're living through something, you're obtaining a practical experience. It's a functioning experience, not a theoretical experience, so to speak, or just something you read in a book. You're actually living it, so it's a practical experience. / living experience. At least that's my take on it.
Can anyone add to that? And give example?
Well, but Cynthia here. Anyway, I remember the only useful thing that I got going through, because I was raised, Roman Catholic, so nuns and all that stuff. But it was in the prep school. It's like before kindergarten, even I think, when they were talking about God and that God was everywhere. I know it was just a matter of semantics, but that's the only thing that kind of like kept with me. And the way my understanding of it even then was that it was more like, the force of like Star Wars, or creative energy, that it was everywhere, and that I didn't envision it as some guy with a long white hair and beard sitting up on a throne somewhere, telling people what to do. But anyway, so that was my understanding. And that's the only thing that actually I found of value. Other than that, being indoctrinated with all the beliefs and Christianity and all that stuff. And then a lot of it didn't kind of really make sense to me. Well, it did, but to some extent, it was already really boring, like, because I felt I wasn't really learning anything new. And then I kept searching elsewhere until I ended up coming across Billy's information. But that took some time, actually, because that's why I also found it very interesting to know about Eric von Daniken, because what he I know it was very controversial then, even up to now, but then I found it was closest to what made sense for me before I actually came across, the contact notes and stuff like that. I was already living in Canada. My family immigrated from the Philippines, and then that was around 1979 that I saw this documentary called UFOs Are Real. And it's still, I feel, was a very excellent documentary that features towards the end um, Wendell Stevens, Colonel Wendell Stevens, who was the main investigator of the Billy Myers contact experience, and that's where he was talking about the contact notes, that all these face-to-face contact notes with the they call them Pleiadians then, but they're actually the Pleiaren, and the Federation. So for me, and I kept searching for that in bookstores, but of course couldn't find it. But when you have the will and then the desire to search for the truth, you will be shown the way to it. And so that's why I'm here now. I mean, I ended up getting married and moving to LA, and that's when I found it. And we had our first study group. So everything happens for a reason, and you'll find when you take the time to really think that what you really in your desire to search for the truth, it will bring you there, because when you deep inside, when you do pray really towards your spirit instead of something outside of you, like some god or tin god or whatever, you will get bread. If you ask for bread, you won't get a rock or stone. So this is where we're at, all of us, and we should all be grateful that we're all alive and to learn together and take advantage of this time to learn all we can so that we will gain the power within ourselves to really make a change and to really forge our own destinies. Whatever it is, it's like the sky's the limit, really, literally. So we're all grateful that we can all be here and share our knowledge and experience and get rid totally of beliefs, because that's what will lead us astray, any belief that we may have. So the only thing that's worth it is our knowledge, and the knowledge will bring us that power. There. That's it. Anybody else can please share.
I want to
Anybody?
share. Yeah, I want to share. My perspective about the practical experience versus living experience. It talks about the practical experience, usually the basic response that we encounter in our day-to-day living. It is expected behavior of the norm, of the society, what ought we should do to a certain situation. So it needs a little basic thinking. It doesn't need a little deep pondering. Already it is laid down what should we do to a certain situation by the means of the word practical. It means the simplest thing we can solve a problem. However, when we talk of living experiences or experience, it has to do with your personal choices. That is sometimes not in the expected perception of the norm or of the society. It has to do with your own thing. And by the word living experience, it is like you want to try out something that is out of the ordinary. So you are deviating from the expected situation of the norm. So it is more on like a personal decision or a personal experience that you are doing it for self-discovery. So that's how I see it. Anyone else?
Okay, thank you, Richie.
Yeah. Well, no, Richie, you have made me realize it's true. I mean, like in my own personal experience, like you know, I was already in the you know, found it when I, you know, married my husband and worked there. But at the time, I was really in love with my first, I guess, lover, and was a woman. And then so I left, and then long story short, you know, so I was away from basically the knowledge and the stuff for about maybe eight, almost close to 20 years before I got back. But I lived that experience. It all, in other words, I made that decision because I really loved her so much, and it was really so compelling, and I couldn't, I guess, resist, and I had to understand and know I didn't want to have any regrets, I would say. And but in doing that, I learned about myself, and I found out that what was really even more important was the truth. And then the problem, and then to make a long story short, I ended up leaving her too. And then I'm just glad I have my present wife who understands me, and it's like the combination of both. But you know, you're right, sometimes something has to run its course, you know, for you to learn. And then maybe some may say, oh, it was the wrong decision. But on the other hand, living that and understanding that, then I could see the many ways that I saw the many ways where one can be astray. Because, you know, we even tried to join this what Couples for Christ or Handmaids of the Lord thing, because she was more in the religious bent. And then, oh my goodness, you know, then it was also, you know, how people can be deluded into thinking stuff. And then so eventually I said, no, this is not, I'm not learning anything. And then it's like that love wasn't enough. Then it also made me realize what real love is as compared to lust, for example. And then I could see that one can really be astray and not really see the truth, you know. So I'm glad I'm at this point in my life where I have to play catch up. That's why I keep myself busy with all the Zoom or study groups, because I want to learn as much as I could. But on the other hand, I also still have to balance it so that, you know, I don't spread myself too thin. I have to concentrate. And I think meditation is the key there, to so that you can really pull away the veil, and then get in contact with all your, you know, your past, the wisdom from all your past lives that you've lived so far. Because just like Nocodemion had this lineage, you know, as a prophet and all that, really part of that. We all have our own lineage, and then we all have to make that connection, and to, you know, to make those decisions that in the end, everything will always end up to towards the truth. So you may think something is negative, but actually it's positive, because you learn about yourself. That's why errors and mistakes are also essential to our growth, and not to worry about that. And just, you know, and just to continue to forge ahead, and not, and continue to seek and be aligned with the truth. And that is what will really set you free from all your beliefs. It'll set you free from all the limitations you impose on yourself, or that society will impose on you. And it will really give you the power to really rise up to the level, even beyond the godlike level. You know, we all have the capacity, because we are all a part piece of creation, and creation is limitless. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe we can move on now. David?
Okey doke. Excuse me. Not only does the truth have something magical, strong, and mightful about it, but also the thoughts do. Thoughts are might, and indeed in the negative as well as in the positive. However, thoughts must be neither purely negative nor purely positive, but equalized. Indeed, neutral positive equalized. That means that the thoughts are certainly maintained in a positive form, but that negative inclusions must also be allowed in them, which are processed together with the positive in a neutral, equalized form. Neutral positive equalized thinking, therefore, means that both positive and negative must be brought together and equalized, whereby a healthy and progressive thinking arises. On its own, negative thinking leads to Ausartung, or degeneration, just as much as purely positive thinking does. A necessary ratio which results through a neutral positive equalized form of thinking must therefore be adhered to. In short, this is simply called positive thinking, which, however, is not quite correctly defined. Consequently, misunderstandings unfortunately arise from it, which can bring more harm than good. Therefore, it has to be clear that a neutral, positive, equalized mode of thinking is required for the maintenance and repair of the psyche. But a neutral, positive, equalized thinking requires the self-development of the personality, which is based in self-cognition, from which results the self-realization, and indeed by forming all of that which is recognized about oneself into zeal or goal, directed thoughts, which are then mightfully used, whereby a self-mightification arises in practice. Human beings are thereby able to show themselves their real and true greatness. And in the conscious use of the might of their thoughts, they show themselves their own capabilities and also prove that they have a means at their disposal which they can form their futures and entire lives according to their own wishes and ideas. The effective truth is never complicated, and in any case, it can always be expressed quite simply. And once it has found its way into the openness and has been or is actually spoken, then it has such a profoundly moving effect that it can no longer be disregarded. And the truth is so strong that it can actually change the life of one human being or a great mass of human beings. Therefore, it is no empty phrase when it is said that the truth can literally make one free from anxieties and from restrictions which the human beings impose on themselves, and free from burdens and other things. But the way to the truth lies in the might of the thinking. The might of the thinking is every human being's key to their personal power in all things. But this key must be specifically engaged by every human being in order to open the door to their own consciousness and its mightful thoughts, in order to make accessible the most comprehensive success and the greatest power which the human being can personally imagine. If you will excuse me just a short moment, I have to take care of something really quickly, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So, sige. Bibigyan ko. Puti tumaya. Ibibigyan ko ng explanation in Tagalog. So, sinasabi dito sa dalawang paragraph na ito na kailangan natin yung negative at positive. Ibig sabihin, kung tayo ay nag-iisip ng laging positive, no? Laging positive siya, akala natin yun na talagang tama. Ibig sabihin nun, at the back of our mind, meron pa rin sumisingit na what if, yon. Parang merong confusion na tama ba ito na aking gagawin or what. Merong kumbaga yung mga feedback sa ating mind na, paano kung ganito? Hindi naman ako, baka hindi ako maintindihan or hindi na kailangan natin i-consider ang mga pangyayari, ang mga tao sa paligid natin na hindi naman maiiwasan na natatanggap lahat ang ating positive thinking. So, iko-consider natin yon yung mga kung ano man yung maibabato sa atin, iko-consider natin yon. At kung tayo man ay mag-react ng hindi rin maganda, although nag-isip tayo ng positive, ay iko-consider din natin. Kasi yun ang buhay eh. Kailangan natatanggap natin yung mabuti at yung hindi mabuti. Kailangan mabalance siya. Hindi pwedeng pag nakagawa tayo kasi ang akala nung iba na pag gumagawa ka ng mabuti, eh, mabuti ka na nga, no? Kasi darating yung mga pagkakataon na medyo maaano ka rin, matitisod ka rin or what. So, ang maganda do'n ay wala nung guiltiness. Hindi tayo dapat ma-guilty. I-accept natin yung kung ano yung mga weaknesses natin, kung paano tayo mag-encounter ng mga pangyayari, i-consider natin yung negative. And then 'pag napag-aralan natin ito, yung negative, hindi naman positive tayo lagi, eh. Hindi na We cannot accept that we are all the time positive thinkers. Although we are studying a good knowledge, we cannot we cannot guarantee that we will all be positive. We should consider the negative that will come to us, and maybe it's minimal, but it is still negative. And then we balance it. We should not feel guilty if we are negative, no? What is important is we see all sides, no? Lahat ng side ng buhay, sides niya, kahit siya ay mali, we should consider it, and then the positive ones na nakikita rin natin. So when we see that, sinasabi dito na the end will be wisdom, no? Sinabi dito na 'pag na-apply natin yung neutral, ang end dito ay wisdom. Kasi nakikita mo yung tama at hindi tama. And that negative also, hindi naman natin puwedeng sabihin na yung negative na yun is masama talaga or mali talaga, no? Parang yung negative na yun ay nagtuturo pa rin sa atin, sa ating personalidad, right? Hindi lahat ng positive ay nakakapagturo sa atin, lalo over positive tayo. Mas natututo din tayo dito sa kabila, dito sa pagiging negative natin, dahil nabibigyan tayo ng lesson at na-upgrade natin ang ating personality. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, shall I continue?
Before you continue, David, I think Sister Rebecca raised her hand. So,
Oh, sorry.
okay, Sister Rebecca, you might want to express something. Go ahead.
It is said there that is positive, negative are in our thoughts, or there is also what we call the neutral positive, the neutral negative, and there also there might also be the what we call the balance or the equalized balance, the true balance, which we call the true balance is the neutral positive. In the neutral negative, which distinguishes it from the neutral positive, if it is neutral negative, we're not acting or there is an omission. We dare not to act. We do nothing. But in the positive, in the neutral positive, there is always an action. We act on it. We do something. And there is no bias nor favoritism. Hindi po tayo nagtatangi, hindi rin tayo kumakampi. So that is what we call the positive or neutral positive. For example, there is a storm, and then we are taught what are we going to do? We are taught what we should be we should prepare, but we do nothing. We only hear it, but we do not act on it. We do not prepare, and then that although there is the storm, still we are relaxed. We do not have an action. We do not acted on it. So that is what we call the neutral negative. But since it is given to us what we are going to prepare, then we prepare the food we need, we prepare water, we prepare the lights, or all those things which we need when the storm comes. That is, or for me, that is what we call the neutral positive. So, in this, the positive, all those which is good to us, there are good things, the good attitude, and then the negative, those are not good to us, the bad things, the bad attitude. So those are the things which, in my opinion, and what I had understood concerning this. So that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sis Rebecca.
Before we
can-
go ahead, is there anyone else who would like to share their thoughts about neutral positive equalized form of thinking? So if everybody's happy, we can proceed. So take it on, David.
All right. If the human being demonstrates to themselves the might of their thoughts, what is this? Where'd that come from? Sorry about that. If the human being demonstrates to themselves the might of their thoughts, then the truth strikes roots deep in the subconsciousness. Once the simple and yet brightly shining truth of the fact of the might of the thoughts is recognized, then life changes slowly but steadily for the better. Thereby, the human being learns to stop doing things which they do not want to do in their life, but which they did up to that point. Excuse me. Often without actually knowing why. Once the cognition and knowledge about the might of one's thoughts grows in them, then they learn to do what suits them, what they enjoy, and what they love. The sense of the life is discovered, as is the sense that in one's own personal wise, a better life and better world for all human beings, as well as for all other life forms, and for all of nature and the planet must be created. This cognition and this knowledge become the motivating power in one's life. And those human beings who have grasped that are thereby just as happy and satisfied and willing to bear complete responsibility for themselves as they are to carry the responsibility out into the life which surrounds them and to the life forms of all kinds which exist in it. And all human beings who recognize this truth are happy and satisfied that they can share their cognition and their knowledge as well as their life with every other human being and with every other life form. And this goes for men as well as women, for young and old, for the educated and uneducated, as well as for poor and rich, because the principles are universal and valid for every human being, absolutely regardless of one's faith or upbringing, one's gender or age, or one's race or social status. Okay, we have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, and my question is, might of thoughts is being done by all human beings, be it there be a belief or not. Might of thoughts is being has a living living thing in every human being. So it is said here that, well, it is said that, where is it? That a human being, what is it? Yeah. Ibig sabihin, if you live a happy life with your belief, with your present belief, and then you are happy with that, and then what's wrong? What's wrong with it? Or maybe what's the difference between the might of thoughts of a knowledgeable that do not have the belief anymore?
I'll try to answer that one.
Sige.
There is such thing as a word called we are living in a fool's paradise. So if I will try to have a look at it like the religion, for example, some of the religions they are saying the rapture is coming, the end of the world is coming. Most of these people they did out of fanaticism is that they're trying to sell everything, their material possessions, as what their pastor or their priest is saying to them. And then they are saying that don't don't look anymore to the world, but try to live with the heavenly presence, the heavenly gifts, because after this world will perish, you will gain the eternal life or the treasures in heaven. So this fool's paradise scenario is what is happening is it's trying to steal the the striving for these people because they don't want anymore to strive to make the things better, like the things in the environment that is happening, because they're saying don't worry about this planet earth, don't worry about this nature, because this will be cleansed. There will be a new Jerusalem, there will be a new earth, or if new earth there will be a new heaven that is waiting for us. So why bother take care of this earth, where in fact when the second coming of Christ is coming, everything will be burned and we will be taken up into heaven. Or in other religion there's called rapture, we will be disappear from this world of suffering and will be taken up there in heaven. So the problem with this kind of thinking is it's a very dangerous thinking, because this kind of fool's paradise thinking, it's affecting the whole population and the whole of creation of the planet Earth, including the animals, the flora and fauna, because this kind of screwed thinking has a detrimental effect. It may be beneficial for those people who are, for the meantime, it brings comfort, but in the long term, what these people don't realize is how about the others who don't follow their belief? Those people who are trying to save this planet, those people who are trying to preserve this planet, these people who are in their fanaticism, they will bring forth a lot of children, a lot of offspring, because they believe they have the right to multiply on this planet, because by miracle everything will be provided by this divine God. So those people who are not following those beliefs, they'll be the ones who's trying to catch up with the problem, trying to fix the problem of this fanatic people. So in the perspective of these people who are who are believing, they are in this fool's paradise perception that we are the saved one, we are the chosen one. But outside of this bubble, the people who are not following their belief, who are trying to go on with their lives, trying to save this planet, they are the ones who are going to catch or to solve or to fix the problem of these people who are thinking different kind of mindset. So that's my piece of thought there.
Yeah, very clear explanation. Thank you, Richie. Any other answer?
I
Yeah.
think Ate Cynthia raised her hand.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add to Richie what he just said, which I think is really very important to bear in mind. because, you know, there are also people who are also led by this religious mentality, you know, and also think along those right lines, who are unfortunately, you know, also in the military. Okay, so in their minds, these are the ones that don't think that by bringing about war or Armageddon, that it will hasten the arrival of the Savior, you know, coming down from the heavens to bring us, you know, to help us from ourselves, you know, save us from whatever you know, trouble we put ourselves in. So that in itself is also dangerous, you know, those that are that have that position. And then that's why there are factions also within the military, you know, that to bring this about, and it's all tied in and also making, you know, making money and stuff like that, the greed. So yeah, that's why it's very dangerous, because, you know, this when they get hold, and their mind and their experience also backs up their beliefs, all the more they will be entrenched in it and think there is really no other way, and that you know, will plunge us all into oblivion, and they don't care because they think that there's magically gonna be a new, you know, planet here, not knowing that, you know, there are also other beings that live on this planet that have been here also even longer than we have on the surface of this planet, that also, you know, have their stake in their existence. So anyway, so we just have to, you know, continue to abide by the truth and strive to have that peace within us. And the only way that can be achieved is by being neutral, positive, acknowledging that, you know, the negative is necessary in order for us to also be balanced as we evolve. That's it.
Yeah, tama yung explanation ninyo. And gusto kong dugsungan yung kay Richie na, yeah, meron siyang binanggit na in the long run, no? In the long run, hindi makakatulong yung belief na yon. Although pinag-uusapan natin is might of thoughts, no? Might of the thoughts. At nagawa nila yung might of the thoughts through praying, doing the right thing. Parang naging mabuti naman silang tao through sa pagiging religyoso nila. But in the long run nga, ay hindi rin ito makakatulong dahil yung belief na yon ay something unlimited, very limited yung belief na yon. So, sabihin natin na yung might of thoughts na yon, which na nadidevelop sa kanila is nadidevelop yung unknowledgeable. May binabanggit dito na unknowledgeable. At meron din tayong binanggit na positive and negative. So, nasa positive naman side siya. Pero yung negative side, hindi niya nakikita yung negative side ng pagiging religious. So, yun lang. Thank you.
Shall I continue?
I think
Yeah.
Ate Rebecca raised her hand.
Oh, yeah,
You-
yeah.
You have something to say, Rebecca? Go ahead.
Po, gusto ko lang po dito, nabasa ko lang po kasi ito, sabi, if the human being demonstrate to themselves the might of their thoughts, then the truth strikes roots deep in their subconsciousness. Once the simple and yet brightly shining truth of the fact of the might of the thought is recognized, then life changes slowly but steadily for the better. So, what I have understood in this sentence is, like for example, I want to be a better person. I want to do the best of what I can. I want to be happy and to maintain that happiness for a long time. So I told to myself, I can do it. I have the knowledge to do it. But deep in my heart, there is the doubt. Do I have the knowledge really to do it? Can I really do it? So, and those things, the doubt and not being confident is what I am feeding to my subconsciousness, which I think the subconsciousness uh, is the large portion in ourself, which is the emotion. That is what I know about the subconscious. It holds our emotion. So if I keep on repeating that doubt, do I really have the knowledge? Can I really do it? I think I have no authority to do it because I lack that knowledge. And then
We lost you there,
I'm not
Tita
strong enough.
Rebecca.
Po. Yes.
Hello?
Opo, opo. Will I
Parang nawala
stop?
po.
Nawala
Nawala,
po ba ako?
Pwede nyo yung mga, siguro mga last 10 seconds, parang naputol.
Sige po. Tingnan ko po. So, to continue, if I keep on repeating, meron na po? Wala
Yes,
pa
okay
rin?
na po. Okay na po.
If I continue repeating those sentences or those words, do I really have that knowledge? Do I really, can I really do it? Have I an authority to myself to do it? If I keep on repeating it, and it is what I am feeding to my subconscious, and then that is what I will going to act. And that will later on become a part of my habit. And then that habit will be my life. So, what I am thinking, I want to be the best of what I am. I want to retain the happiness, which for a long time, but I keep on repeating, feeding my subconscious the doubt which is in me. I can't do it. I have no knowledge. My knowledge is not enough. So, I cannot change my life because I will still going through the life which is what my subconscious is, or what is fed on my subconscious. So that is what I understood in that sentence. I don't know if I am correct. That's all. Thank you po.
Yeah, may I answer your question?
Opo.
Mhm.
Opo.
Yeah, to me, knowledge is so broad. It's very broad without us knowing it. The moment you ask yourself, the moment you get confused, the moment you are no longer satisfied of what you are doing, and it's already knowledge for me. It's already knowledge because you will not stop doing the right answer to your question until you realize that you yourself are the ones who discover the knowledge that fits you. Is the happiness with peace? Is the happiness with harmony with other people? Is the happiness gives you freedom? So those things that is included in our affirmation is very important. The answer to our questions are, is it with love? Is it with something? And it is ourselves also who can answer that honestly. So I think, yeah, we should trust ourselves really when we go to that negative that you will tell na, oh, I do not know, I cannot do that. No, there is a huge knowledge that is in us. The only thing is we will not stop. We will be consistent. We will be step by step, little step after another until we reach the answer to our question. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
I want to add on that. On the pages of Arahata Tersata, they said, doubt is the enemy of the truth. It's a very, very complex topic to be discussed because in the scientific field, like experimentation, hypothesis, ideas, some doubts are healthy to be pondered upon. But however, we are discussing about certain aspects like you want to do this, you want to do that. If you are trying to program yourself to accomplish certain things, you have to do it 100%. Because if you put a little doubt on that, it's like you're not giving 100% to what you want to do. So you're putting doubt at the same time. You're partnering a goal at the same time you're putting doubt on it. So what happens is the boomerang effect. This kind of programming of thoughts you are sending in the ether or in the universe, and afterwards when it comes back to you, it amplifies its power. So now the doubt that you have partnered with your goals, it comes back to you many times fold. So the problem is from the word itself, how do you neutralize this one? How do you balance its return, the equalized positive form? It will be very difficult because you have on the one thing you have this goal that you want to push something, but on the other hand you pair it with doubt, so it will be very, very difficult for you to equalize it. But if you do something another way around, if you give 100% confidence to this goal or idea that you want to pursue, now you send these thoughts into the ether, into the universe, and it will return back to you. So if it returns back to you, you have to equalize it. So if it returns to you in on the negative polarity side, then you have to balance it, adding more positive polarity so that you can equalize it. So that's the thing that you will do on how to balance the polarity. So if you are putting doubt there, then it will be very difficult for you to push through, because once you put doubt and then this idea return back to you, if you're not happy with it, then more doubt will be compounding with it, and then you will lose the momentum to push for that idea or goal. But however, if you don't put doubt on it, if you put 100 confidence on it, whatever outcome will come to you, either negative or positive polarities, you will find solutions for it until you find the right timpla, ano bang tawag dyan sa English? You find the right tuning. The mean tuning is the equalized form. The negative and the positive polarity are equalized. So it will be more beneficial for you to push forward. So that's my thought there.
That's right. Thank you. So maybe we can move on.
As you wish.
Mhm.
Part 2. Since time immemorial, there have been many aphorisms in regard to the might of the thoughts, such as, the might of the thoughts determines the actions of the human being. The might of the thoughts determines the life of the human being. The personality forms itself by means of the might of the thoughts. The human being is just the way they use the might of their thoughts, and so on and so forth. These aphoristic words were already coined by wise human beings in ancient times, yet in their original wording, they have been lost for a long time. Nevertheless, the original sense of these aphorisms has been maintained, even if only in a weakened or even falsified form. As the following example shows, the human being becomes or is just the way they think. The verse not only speaks purely of the human being's thinking, however, no longer in any form of the tremendous might of the thoughts, but exactly this might is of enormous significance. Indeed, it is that which is most important of all pertaining to the thoughts, because only through the might are the thoughts brought to fruition. The thoughts alone, if they are therefore devoid of their might, that is to say, of their power, are harmless and incapable of getting anything going. Therefore, they actually need their might power in order to be able to come to fruition in a deed or action, in the shaping of the morality, of the mentality, of the character, and of the entire personality, or in the form of an idea or fantasy, as well as in wishes and many other kinds of diverse things. Many human beings nurture wish dreams, those which do come to fruition and those which always remain unable to be fulfilled. But the might and the power of the thoughts through which something is brought to fruition exists in both forms. And this is indeed so in any case. In one case, through the might of the thoughts, the wish dream brings itself to fruition, while in the other, the wish dream just remains just that, whereby, however, it constantly revives and equalizes the psyche. So in both cases, the might of the thoughts brings itself to fruition as the success and as that which the human being thinks. Therefore, it is right when it is said, that which the human being mightfully thinks manifests for them. The might of the thoughts not only embraces the human being's entire being, but is so comprehensive that there's nothing of which a human being could conceive which would not be integrated into it. The might of the human being's thoughts embraces every condition and every circumstance of the human being's life. Consequently, the human being is always exactly that which they mightfully think. As a result of this, without any doubt, character, morality, and personality are the complete sum of the might of the thoughts. This also applies to the state of the psyche and the state of the thought creating consciousness itself, and indeed, regardless of which form of behavior they have. Thoughts are might, regardless of which kind they are. Through a primal creational law, it is given that might and power are provided as an adjunct to the thoughts, so that they are creative and do not lose themselves in the emptiness of the senselessness. Thoughts are always paired with might and power because only thereby is progress guaranteed. However, thoughts without power and might are like a body without vitality, like a fire without warmth, or like a word without sense. Any comments or questions?
Yeah. Is there anybody like Jacon and Francis and others who are following the study of might of thoughts by just listening to it? So how would you feel? What is your impression? Are you Does it sink in your thoughts? The meaning of might of thoughts? Francis, Wei, Jaycon, and others. Are you there?
I
Are
think
you
Tita
there?
Rebecca raised the hand.
Sige. Okay.
Meron po kasi akong nabasa diyan doon sa hindi ko alam kung saang part na ang sabi po,
Mm.
what we think will manifest on us. Yun po yung nabasa ko dun sa bandang huli eh. What we
Mm-mm.
think will manifest on us. So meaning, if we think negative, it will manifest on us. If we think positive, it will manifest on us. That is what we are going to do. That is where our life will be. So it only shows that we really need to strive how to be fruitful, how our thinking will be fruitful or our thoughts will be fruitful through this equalize or balance or true balance or maybe having the neutral positive which is what we call the true balance. So, yun po siguro yung kailangan sa atin na we must always think what we do will be back to us. Dahil meron po tayo ng tinatawag na law of action na meron ng dadating, may babalik. Opo, may babalik po sa atin. Whatever we act, then there is always the fruit of that action. If it is negative, then what will comes back to us will be negative. If it is positive, then it will be positive. And if we want to have a harmonious life, we should strive on to be always positive, to be always be on that stage of the true balance or the true or the neutral positive. But we very seldom knows that. And that is what we benefit from out of this study because our mind, our thought are always, we are opening our thoughts to be that kind of person. And that is what we benefit from this. So that is all po. Thank you po. That is what I understood.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Francis and Jaycon. Any thoughts about might of the thoughts?
Yes po, tita, wait lang. Um,
Kahit Tagalog. Fine.
the might of thoughts, it represents both the realized and fulfilled wishes, dreams. In that case, might enables the dream to become a reality. Well, the second, it continually revive uh, na balance. In both instances, the might of thought manifests itself as success and as the human being thoughts. So it is accurate to say that which the human being mindfully thinks manifest for them. It gives insights in our daily lives by recognizing and harnessing the power of our thoughts. We can shape our experience and personal growth, leading to more fulfilling and meaningful life.
Mhm.
Yun lang po, tita.
Yeah.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you for sharing.
I have a little practical experience that I had today that kind of goes along with this, with the kind of, negative, positive might of thoughts. And I was faced with some very difficult situations today regarding my government income. And
Mm.
regulations have changed, and it made it extremely difficult to access my money here in the country.
Mm.
And I knew I was going to have to go in, and it was going to be an all-day affair of going in and filling out forms and waiting and going in queues. And at first I took it as a negative, and I felt really low, and I didn't want to do it. And then I started to think, well, it's something that has to be dealt with. It is what it is. So if I place a negative value on it, it's going to make it even more difficult and more, I'm going to probably project that negativity onto the people that I have to deal with. And then they're going to feel that, and they're going to be unhappy. They're going to be uncomfortable, and the whole thing is going to be terrible, right? So what I decided to do was balance it. I knew it was going to be a kind of a negative situation. There were going to be a lot of issues and problems, and not only that, but the language problem, there was going to be a lot of trouble. But I said, I'm going to treat this in a neutral, positive way. I'm not going to go in front loaded with any kind of negativity. I'm going to go in and I'm going to be very polite. I'm going to be very respectful, and I'm going to turn this into a positive situation. Guess what? It worked. It wasn't a lot of fun. It wasn't a lot of fun, but nobody was frowning. Nobody was talking about me behind my back. Everybody was being very friendly, helpful. And even though it took all day to get all this sorted out in 2 different banks, it all came to fruition, and all the problems were solved, and now I got no trouble anymore. So that's kind of an example of how that kind of stuff can work if we approach it with the right frame of mind and with the might of our thoughts to create a positive situation out of a sort of a mixed bag of negative and uncomfortable situations. So I thought maybe that I would share that, because it actually works in practical applications. It really does work.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Very
sharing that.
nice sharing.
Yeah, especially with all the things that's going on in this country, right? Having to face all the problems with all these wars and all the, so we have to be mindful of, since we have all this knowledge, to really put it into practice, and then and only then will you know it. Just look at it this way: whatever hardships you may have to face or any challenges is only an opportunity to use the knowledge that you have about positive equalized thinking, and then knowing that this is part of life, and then how to be able to rise above it, because only by having these opportunities or challenges will we really be able to face the truth about ourselves, and then that will tie in with our personality, our ethics, our morals. When situations present themselves, only then will you have the opportunity to know on what side of evolution are you degrading yourself, how do you affect other people. So that thank you so much for sharing, because that's an important thing. All of us have to face and learn to be patient, and just use the opportunity anytime you have to, to think of it as a time to study and just be calm within yourself, so that you can spread peace, especially in a world right now that is in so much turmoil. We could use all the knowledge, the spiritual teachings we have, to rise above whatever challenges face us.
Yeah.
Richie's got his hand.
Yeah, Richie.
Yes, for the others who wants to have the idea of this neutral, positive, equalized thinking, before we were discussing this thing, we were new on this thing, and then a lot of our members were thinking about the polarities, like the negative and the positive. So most of us we are still new on this topic. We are thinking all the negative polarities are evil, and all the positive polarities are good. So when we dig deeper on this issue, maybe previous years back, we come to realize that it in itself, these two polarities are not that let's say evil, or again negative is evil in itself, or positive is good in itself. The key point here is, if we use either of the polarities, the negative or the positive, if we overuse them, this leads to degenerate, or let's say if we use the positive values in excess, it will create unbalance, and it will lead to Aussertang, and this Aussertang is the German word for out of control. It will lead to an evil consequences. It's the same with the negative polarity, the negative aspects. If we overuse it, it will lead also to destruction. So what we understand from the concept is, these two polarities, the negative and positive, should fuse together as one to have a balance. So if you have a balance, both negative and the positive equalization, you have this what we call neutral positive equalized form. You have a movement forward, not backward, not steady, but movement forward. So what are the examples? Let's say if you are over passive person. So what happens is, if you are very forgiving, if you're over good person, other people will take advantage of your goodness. And if you don't stand up for the ones that are abusing you, you will be stepped over. So however, if you learn how to equalize this kind of goodness, you will learn how to restrain, you will learn how to be open, or how to be forgiving to the people, or to be helpful to the people without losing yourself. But if you are also very dominant, or very restrained, so people will not come to you, people will look up to you as a domineering or arrogant person. So we have to balance the polarities in order to achieve the real sense of the value. So I hope I get that message simple to you, that there's no things such as the negative as evil, and the positive is only the good. If you overuse the other, that's the thing that we understand in the concept as, it leads to out of control, which in effect leads to evil things. That's it.
Yeah, right. That is true.
Shall we move along?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. A plant sprouts from a seed and can therefore not come into existence without it. It is also exactly the same with the acts, deeds, and wishes of the human being, as well as with the human being's character, morality, and entire personality, as well as with the state of his/her psyche. Everything springs forth from the might of the human being's thoughts, which sprout and unfold from an idea, or from a perception, or from some other form, quite like a plant which has its origin in a seed. Regarded symbolically, ideas, perceptions, and other forms are the seeds of human thoughts, which could never become reality without the fertilization. But once they are animated and created, then they develop their own life, exactly as with the plants, and as exactly as with these, they create in themselves their own power and might, through which everything internal and external is formed. And this applies to everything and anything. Thus, it applies to the same degree to all acts and deeds as well as to all other conditions and circumstances of life. Whether acts and deeds, as well as conditions and circumstances, and so forth, result, are used, or are formed spontaneously and without deliberation, or are willingly and thereby intentionally carried out, plays no role in this. All acts and deeds, the forming of the morality, of the character, and of the entire personality, as well as the psyche, are flowers of the thoughts and their monstrous might. Thus also joy and sorrow depend on the might and the power of the thoughts, as do love or hate, peace or unpeace, modesty or craving for recognition, lies or love of the truth, belief or knowledge, honesty or insincerity, and honorableness and dishonorableness, and so on and so forth. No matter what is referred to and regarded, whether something negative or positive, it is always the fruit of the might of the thoughts, regardless of whether it is personally created or is created by third parties. Thus, the human being actually gathers the sweet as well as the bitter fruits, which they cultivate themselves by means of the might of the thoughts, or which are created by others outside of their own thinking. However, what the human beings are in themselves, in their morality, character, and entire personality, and what the state of their psyche is, that is their very own matter. Regarded in this kind and wise, the human being is therefore the smith of their own life. Whatever the human being is a result of that human being's own thoughts, which were drafted and put together in their own consciousness and then brought into effect through the might and power which is inherent in the thoughts. If negative thoughts are maintained in this way, regardless of whether it is knowingly or unknowingly, then negative effects also follow, which we just discussed earlier. However, if the thoughts are healthy and thereby neutral positive equalized, then the effect also corresponds to that. However, there is also room in the neutral positive equalized thinking for negative inclusions, which should not simply be suppressed, but rather must be processed in a neutral positive equalized way in order to achieve an effective equalization. Therefore, one must not think in an only purely positive or only purely negative form, rather precisely in a neutral positive equalized form with the same amount of both parts. Joy and sorrow lie very close together, just as day and night, excuse me, or rainy weather and sunshine. Thus, in the life of the human being, joys follow sorrow, always alternating according to the form of the thinking which allows its power and might to prevail in the negative or positive forms. The realms of mightful thoughts are therefore negative as well as positive, but neither one kind nor the other may be used exclusively, because in this form they bring harm. Indeed, as negative or positive ausartung, or degeneration, therein lie the grounds for why a healthy form of thinking consists of a neutral, positive, equalized thinking. As a matter of fact, the human being is not an artificial creation, but the creation of creational intelligence, and thereby a creation which has evolved through the law of universal creation, of universal consciousness. This applies to the woman as it does to the man and to the children. But the law of universal creation is a law of cause and effect, as applies to all creational areas of law. And precisely this says that every thought enlivened by might and power must, as a cause, also bring a quite certain effect. Everything which is kept concealed pertaining to the human being becomes obvious as a result of this cause-effect principle, since it absolutely and unwaveringly exposes the mysterious realms of the thinking once the effects of the thoughts become visible, audible, or perceptible. And indeed, for the particular human beings themselves, as well as for others, the effects of the causal thoughts are therefore as visible as the material things of the world. Any comments or questions? Shall we continue?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
still looking for the
Oh.
previous, yeah, you can proceed reading while I am looking for my
Okay,
question.
okay. As a consequence of the cause-effect principle of the thoughts, a virtuous, noble, and modest character and a corresponding personality are not a matter of random chance or the result of a lottery, which must simply be accepted. But instead, they are a matter of a self-determined, good, positive destiny, and are the natural result of right, neutral, positive, equalized thinking, and of the willing, constant efforts to nurture a corresponding effect of a long-tended connection with creationally right thoughts. This is quite the opposite of the low kind of thoughts, in which the cause-effect principle produces a virtuous, ignoble, and immodest character profile and a corresponding personality, because one persists in continually remaining with the purely negative and groveling thoughts. Shall I continue?
Yeah,
Okay.
just one question.
Oh,
Yeah, this paragraph. All acts and deeds, the forming of the morality of the character and of the entire personality, as well as the psyche, are flowers of the thoughts and their monstrous might. Thus also joy and sorrow depend on the might and power of the thoughts, as do love or hate, peace or unpeace, modesty or craving for recognition, lies or love of the truth, belief and knowledge and honesty and insincerity, and honorableness and unhonorableness, and so on and so forth. No matter what is referred to and regarded, whether something negative or positive, it is always the fruit of the might of the thoughts, regardless of whether it is personally created or is created by third parties. So that is my question. Why is it yeah, why they mention created by third parties, meaning that the might of thoughts that we are discussing is all for ourselves, the might of thoughts of ours, of our thoughts. Why is it that a third party is mentioned here?
I think if we we refer to Billy, the occult swinging waves. Even though he did not create those things, it's created by the religious people. It has an effect on him. When he's working with the computers or some works he's doing, some of the things surrounding him are affected by this swinging waves, these occult thoughts that had been generated by the mass of religious people. So it's one way of seeing that. Another thing is, if we are not Billy, if we are an average human person, how do we conceive this idea of third parties affecting our might of the thoughts? Well, maybe if we are having the same goals, having the same ideas or purpose, then we are combining our thoughts, our powers together to form a unison, or like a peace meditation. If we are grouped together and we do this peace meditation, we are synchronizing our thoughts to increase its power. So one way or another, it falls on the third party. So we are building an idea that are synchronous to each other, and we are helping this idea by each and every one of us contributing to that idea or thoughts. Then it will eventually generate enough power to fulfill itself. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, right, Richie. So we really should take care of our thoughts, really. We should be purely observant, as said in the introduction to meditation. We should be aware, we should be careful of our thoughts itself. So when you mention the swinging waves of other human beings, it might be that they are stronger than our might of thoughts, then it's hard for us, to overcome all this because of the stronger elements around us. So we should be firm, we should be strong, really, we should have our thoughts mighty, and we should try to do it, really. That's all.
Yeah, in this day and age, with this, with the conditions that are going on, with all of this warfare and threats and fear and anger and everything around us, it's extremely important that we use the might of our thoughts to build how could I describe it, like a psychic fortress, or a shield, against these kinds of things, because with the collective might of these negative thoughts and asartang, can have an extremely detrimental effect on us, and really set us back in our progress with the spiritual teachings and applying them to our lives. So we have to be extremely careful, especially in terms of things like media and those kinds of things that will plant the seeds of negativity in our minds. We have to really be on our guard, like you said, Tita. We have to be on our guard at all times and use the might of our thoughts, not only to create a positive and a good life, but also to protect ourselves. So that's all I've got.
Yeah, that's right, David. Okay.
Yeah, and then I just
Yeah,
want
okay.
to add, so those of us also who happen to also have a pyramid in our possession, so since we're able, they have the technology to store whenever we feel, distress for ourselves or for the planet and what's going on here with humanity, to do, those 20-minute peace meditations, because it can be accumulated and stored, and that's the only way, so we should take advantage of that they're able to do that in order to offset, the world population also, because and we're grateful that, the federation is helping us to keep that stability for peace on this planet. And so that's what I suggest you do. Take this the peace meditation this weekend, join in that, this three sessions, to feel
On
that at least
Saturday.
you don't feel helpless, about what's going on, and do something about it. Okay, that's all.
All right, let's move along now. From birth, human beings constantly work on themselves, and in fact, either in a positive or negative form, whereby the positive must always be seen as neutral positive equalized. At the latest, from the point in which one becomes conscious of oneself, one creates oneself by means of oneself, or one destroys oneself. The consciousness is the armory of the thoughts, which mightfully come to fruition. But the thoughts are not only indispensable good tools for the forming of acts and deeds, the forming of the morality, the character of the entire personality, the psyche, and all other matters, conditions and circumstances, and so forth, but they are also deadly weapons with which the human beings are able to destroy themselves. So joy or sorrow are therefore created through the might of the thoughts, in each case according to whether they are created with the good tools of love, strength, peace, and harmony, and so forth, or whether a self-destruction is brought about with the deadly weapons. If the right choice is made and the might of the thoughts is used in the right way, then the human being climbs in their evolution and gain knowledge, love, peace, harmony, and wisdom. But if the might of the thoughts is abused and wrongly used, then the human being sinks down into the deepest abyss of self-destruction, of contempt for humanity, and of human extermination, as well as into the deepest abyss of a general disdain for the life. And as a matter of fact, the human being then sinks deeper than is possible for all of the animals. And there are actually only these two extremes between which lie all human shades of a human being's morality, character, physical state, and entire personality. Extremes and shades which the human beings themselves create, and often consciously and often unconsciously. Of all the entire truth in regard to the spirit and its energy, as well as in regard to the creation itself and its laws and recommendations, which in the new age is especially awakened to new life and is brought out into the open, as well as into the consciousness of the human being. The part which is certainly one of the most important is that which speaks of how the human being who is conscious of themselves and has a normal rationality is the master of their own thoughts, and is therefore also the master over the might of their thoughts. And this applies to both genders, to the woman just as it does to the man, who as human beings are subject to no distinction, and in any case are integrated into the same rights and obligations, and indeed in every regard. But the fact that the human being is a master of their own thoughts and also possesses might over them means that they are the creators of their own morality, character, and entire personality. Along with that, they are also the creators of the state of their own psyches and are the smiths of their entire life circumstances, environment, and entire destiny. This is determined by the truth of the creational laws and recommendations through the truth of the spirit and its energy. And this truth reveals that the most enjoyable and richest thing which the human beings can desire comes to them. The absolute freedom of their thoughts, as well as the absolute freedom of the use of the might which emanates from the thoughts. This freedom is a creation-given promise and provides a confidence for the existence and fulfilling of the evolution according to the laws of creation, which are not integrated into any kind of religious or worldly ideational dogmas or other forms of this kind, just as the creation itself is not. The individual freedom of the human being's thoughts, which are assigned to them by the laws of creation, and the mightful use of the thoughts makes them a Wesen, being, which is capable of the conscious evolution, which, in addition to that, the human being can individually form according to their own choosing and will, according to their morality, character, entire personality, and according to the state of their psyche. As a separate individual unit of power and love, intelligence, knowledge, and wisdom, and as master of their own thoughts and the might of the thoughts, the human beings themselves hold the key to every conceivable situation in their hands. This key is the might of the thoughts, a regenerative means for change, which is intrinsic to every rational human being, and with the help of which human beings can make themselves into that which they want to be, just as they wish. Any thoughts? Questions? Comments? Okay, I guess I'll progress then. The human being is always and in every moment master of their own situation. And indeed, even when they suffer affliction and misery, or when they feel weak, ill, and abandoned. Through the might of the thoughts, each human being determines their own state, and indeed, as a rule, via the psyche, which is formed by the might of the thoughts in a negative or positive, or rather neutral positive equalized way. If the human being forms their thoughts in a neutral positive equalized way, then they are raised by their might into unimagined heights and are rewarded with love, harmony, and joy of living, as well as with success and so forth. But if the human beings allow themselves to fall, and if their thoughts become negative and unequalized, then that human being is assailed by weakness, failure, sorrow, disharmony, and abasement, fear of life, and reluctance regarding life. Thus, in any case, the human beings are always the masters of their directly existing state, called forth and formed by the might of their thoughts, because as the human being thinks, so they feel and act, and their state and condition forms accordingly. Therefore, the human being can be regarded as the master of their personal household, of which they specifically are in charge, and which they form according to the might of their thoughts. If a human being thinks about their life circumstances and carefully searches for the truth of that law on which their very own personal Wesen is based, and if this actually is also found, then the human being can become the wise master. And this law is nothing more than the actuality of the might of the thoughts, through which all the energies are directed with intelligence, and which forms the thoughts themselves such that they produce fruitful results. The thoughts are therefore formed by energies and intelligence, and are also provided by energies with power and might, which result in negative or positive acts and deeds, and so therefore, and so forth, corresponding to the will of the particular human being. If everything is handled according to creational laws in a neutral, positive, equalized form, then the human being evolves into a conscious ruler, carer, and beneficiary of their thoughts and their might. They become conscious masters of their thoughts and their might. Every human being can become the conscious master of their thoughts. But to that end, it is necessary to discover in oneself the laws of the thinking. However, the discovery of these laws is fundamentally a matter of self-analysis for the purpose of self-cognition. And naturally, it is also a matter of the correct use of the creation of thoughts, as well as the constantly growing practical experience and living of the thoughts and their effects. But as a matter of fact, such proceeding, searching, and digging is necessary, because only thereby can the truth and the laws of the thinking be found. Gems of the truth, which are of lasting value. Once a better and more comprehensive self-cognition is gained through the self-analysis, then every truth about one's own real Wesen can also be found. To this end, it is only necessary to dig deeply enough into one's own ego, there where the fundamental truth of one's own Wesen or being is actually concealed. And without doubt, the truth that every human being is the smith of their own life, morality, character, psyche, and entire personality, and is altogether the master over the building of their entire fate, can be proven by every woman and every man to themselves, if that human being's own thoughts are observed and monitored as well as changed. In the effects of the thoughts on oneself and on one's own life and life circumstances and ways of life and so forth are observed and analyzed, as are also, however, the life, the personality and life circumstances, and the way of life and so forth of other persons to the same degree. Through the following and observation of these things, evidence can doubtlessly be produced, and indeed, especially if cause and effect are brought into connection with each other through the patient practice and investigation, and if all gained practical experiences and the living of those experiences specifically find a practical use, whereby even the most trivial mundane experiences and the effective processing thereof are of decisive significance. Thereby, knowledge about one's own personality is obtained, which leads to the understanding of oneself, and it leads to the wisdom, whereby a monstrous power and might arise. As it has been put so beautifully since time immemorial, knowledge is might. Since ancient times, the saying has prevailed that those who make efforts regarding a matter actually will also harvest results. However, if this saying strikes at the core of the truth, nowhere better and more precisely than in relation to when the human being makes the effort to clarify their thoughts, which then become more valuable, purposive, and productive, and form life in a more harmonious and more equalized way. Yet everything needs patience and practice, as well as unremitting effort, because only thereby can the door to the real knowledge be found and opened in order to make useful the truth which has been found.
Nice. Very nice.
Tita, for everybody else,
Yeah.
the account of the Zoom is about to be used by the real person. So maybe we can move on to another social platform to continue because I think Renz is still asleep. So this Zoom account is from another person. I think the relative of Tita Zor. So we're just borrowing it for some time. So she's about to use it. So maybe we can move from another Zoom platform or another social media something.
So was going
Yeah.
to make a
About to
move.
use it. Yeah, I'm sorry for everybody because well, we're just borrowing this another account.
This
Yeah.
could be problematic, Richie, if we're not all able to get on the same page. So maybe we should just, it is getting on to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just call it a day.
Yeah, we can call it a day and we'll
Yeah.
resume where we left.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry for everybody because
Yeah, that's
That's
okay.
fine. Yeah.
That's the way it goes. But
Thank you,
Yeah.
Sor, for lending us the link.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Sor.
anybody
Okay.
wants to
Thank you.
review the
Sorry
presentation,
po.
next time we can maybe have a discussion about it, then we can do it that way. Okay?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay, David.
Okay, see.
Bye,
That's
guys.
it.
Sorry.
Salome,
Have a-
everybody.
Thank you.
Salome. Nice
Bye,
discussion.
Sorry po.
It's okay. It's okay.
Salome, bye-bye. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.